Regular meeting, March 11th, 2024. Place as advertised, a couple minutes late. We apologize for that. But Claire, if you'd please come forward and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Excuse me.
To the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Clara. Very well done. That's fun for you and it's fun for us. Next order of business is citizen comments. This is an opportunity for citizens to address the council on agenda items or other items they wish to bring to the attention of the council. Citizens are encouraged to discuss operational issues in advance with the mayor. In consideration of others wishing to speak, please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. Also, your Lewiston City Council pledges to practice and promote civility within the governing body, advocating for civil engagement, respecting others and their viewpoints, and finding solutions for the betterment of the city of Lewiston. If you have citizen comments tonight, you can make those at the stand in the middle of the room there. We just need your name and your city of residence, and we'll give you 3 minutes to provide comment. So with that, I will open it up for any citizen comments. Welcome.
Hi there, I'm Randy McClure. I'm in Lewiston, citizen of Lewiston. And it was brought to my attention that your employment policy at the city of Lewiston is by just cause when you're looking at an employee considering termination. And I would like to encourage the council to consider changing that to an at-will basis for discharging employees. It's been my experience that that is a way to take care of the issue where the employee can't use means to string out a bad situation, costing the taxpayer money or discouraging the employer from being able to take proper action. That's it.
Thank you, Randy.
Thank you.
Further citizen comments? Next, we'll move to Roman number 4 presentations. Item A, proclamation, Child Abuse Prevention Month, proclaiming April as Child Abuse Prevention Month, and presenting the proclamation to Clara Blue, co-chair of the Strengthening Families Coalition. So, Sarah, if you would join me up by the flag, I'm going to read this and then hand it to you. I better take my glasses or I won't read it. Ensure they become healthy, productive adults, and whereas all citizens should become more aware of the negative effects of child abuse and neglect and become involved in its prevention. Children and families. And whereas child abuse and neglect can be reduced by recognizing all families need support and making sure each family gets education, services, and skills they need to raise their children in healthy, safe, and nurturing environments. And whereas committed community partners are collaborating in their efforts to limit child abuse and neglect and give our children hope. And whereas effective child abuse prevention programs succeed because of these strong partnerships. And whereas a statewide April is Child Abuse Prevention Month campaign has been launched to celebrate all children in Idaho. And whereas the statewide campaign includes the symbol of the pinwheel, celebrating community partnerships for strengthening the family and protecting all children from abuse and neglect. Now therefore, I, Dan Johnson, Mayor of the City of Lewiston, proclaim April as Child Abuse Prevention Month in the City of Lewiston, and encourage all citizens to increase their participation in efforts to prevent child abuse and thereby strengthen the communities in which we live. In witness whereof, I have here unto in my hand the seal of the City of Lewiston, Idaho, be affixed hereto this 11th day, March 2024, Dan Johnson, Mayor, Lewiston, Idaho. Sarah, thank you very much. Now, and like to say anything to this crowd, anything you like to know.
Well, I'd like to invite you all to an event we're hosting here at the library on April 16th at 4 p.m. It goes until 6:30, and it's to promote child abuse awareness. Thank you.
Councilors, next up, we have item 5, public hearings and related action items. Item A, public hearing Z8-03-23, receiving testimony on a proposal to amend Lewiston City Code Section 37-193, penalty to make the language for a zoning code violation more consistent with Idaho Code and other city code violation provisions in Lewiston City Code. With us, we have the Assistant Planner for the City of Lewiston, Katie Hollingshead. The way this will work is I'll open the public hearing. We'll have staff presentation from Ms. Hollingshead. We'll receive testimony from the public. Councilors, you'll have an opportunity to ask questions, and then I'll close the public hearing. So with that, Ms. Hollingshead, please introduce yourself for the record, and remember to speak up loudly and clearly for the record. Welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. Katie Hollingshead, Assistant Planner, here tonight with Ordinance 4907, which is a zoning code amendment, otherwise known as ZA 0323. This is a fairly simple one. This is for section 37193 regarding penalties, removing the word willful and the word petty from this code section so that it will read, a violation of any provision of this chapter shall be a misdemeanor, punishable by a fine not to exceed $1,000 or imprisonment of not to exceed 6 months, or both such fine and imprisonment. Each day that a violation occurs shall constitute a separate offense. We bring forth this code amendment. Our legal team found that the state of Idaho does not recognize petty misdemeanor. It's just a misdemeanor in Idaho State Code, and that caused some problems in trying to prosecute those sorts of violations. And I would stand for that. If you have really, really detailed like legal questions, I'm going to invite Assistant City Attorney Jennifer Tangano to join.
Thank you, Katie. Councilors, do you have questions at this time? Okay. Is there any testimony from the public tonight? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Thank you, Katie. Next is item B, first reading of ordinance 4907, concerning amending section 37-193 of the Lewiston City Code related to penalties under chapter 37. This is an action item. And again, we have our assistant city planner, Katie Hollingshead. Welcome.
This is the ordinance reading for that public hearing we just spoke.
Mayor,
Councilor Forsman,
motion.
motion's in order.
Motion to approve the first reading of ordinance number 4907. Second.
By Councilor Forsman, second by Councilor Schroeder, to approve the first reading of ordinance number 4907. Is there any discussion or amendments? Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Clerk Rocky.
Approving the first reading of ordinance 4907, an ordinance of the City of Lewiston amending section 37-193 of the Lewiston City Code related to penalties under chapter 37 and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Clerk Rocky. Councilors, next up, we have item C, public hearing Z8-04-23, receiving testimony on a proposal to amend various sections of Lewiston City Code Chapter 30 Sign Code and Lewiston City Code Section 37-140.1A, general provisions for home occupations. Again, we welcome our Assistant City Planner, Katie Hollingshead. We'll have a staff presentation, receive testimony from the public. Councilors, you're free to ask questions at that point, and then I'll close the public hearing. So with that, I will open the public hearing and turn the floor over to Ms. Hollingshead.
Good evening, Katie Hollingshead, Assistant Planner. So this is zoning code amendment ZA 0423, also known as ordinance 4906. These are some amendments to our sign code, cleaning up certain areas. There is a corresponding piece of our zoning code under the home occupation portion that we were changing to match the changes that we're making in sign code. That's in regards to people having businesses inside their home, the type of signage that is allowed for that. It also covers some definitions. It covers or it clarifies some things about which kinds of signs require permits. Removes a couple of sections that are no longer applicable to code. Adds some regulations regarding signs in residential zones for different types of uses. Changes our references to a sign variance to a sign waiver, since a waiver is a more appropriate term than variance, and the regulations that we look at that come from the state are different for those items, and so we're changing that to avoid any confusion. And then, like I said, to clarify the home occupation part that comes out of chapter 37. And I would stand for questions.
Thank you, Ms. Hollingshead. Is there any testimony from the public? If so, you'll have 3 minutes. Hearing none. Councilors, questions for Ms. Hollingshead? Councilor Klein?
So in section 30-6, it talks about having to have a permit to have a sign. I was wondering what kind of permit or prices would you have on, like, I guess I'm confused at what kind of signs would require a permit.
So currently under code, signs for commercial establishments such as pole signs, so those are the tall signs that have the sign on the very top. Electronic message centers, so that's anything that flashes or changes color or moves the words. Monument signs are ones that are less than 6 feet tall from the ground. Wall signs are ones that are fixed to the side of a building. A roof-mounted sign would be one that's on the top of a building. A projecting sign would be one that hangs off of a building. And then a marquee sign isn't one that we see very often, but it is one that's identified in code, and that would be like the Liberty Theater has a marquee that stands up. The Tribune has a marquee that stands up. So those sorts of signs in commercial zones and establishments do require a permit from the city. Yes.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Ledgate?
Ms. Hollingshead, could you go over the variance to waiver? Is that something that you guys are going to be making changes throughout code?
No.
Or is it specific to this section?
Just specific to signs. Because so variance, to apply for a variance, the criteria that are required to be met for that come from the state of Idaho, and they're very specific. And the Planning and Zoning Commission has to find that an applicant meets, I believe there's 4 of them, has to meet in entirety all 4 of those items to have a variance granted. For signs, it's identified differently, and so to not have it be confused with a variance that you might get for a land action, and we wanted to change that word to waiver because they're looking for a waiver of standard usually when they're applying for a sign that does not meet existing code.
Follow-up?
Councilor?
Is that defined in this chapter or somewhere else in code so that people can fully understand that difference?
Variance has a definition in chapter 37, yes. And then the whole variance process is also defined in chapter 37. And so since sign code is
Thank you.
chapter 30, we wanted to make sure that those things were separate because it is a different process and different criteria. So it's not the same as a variance.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Forsman?
I'm read through it and I'm pretty sure I understand, but I just wanted to make sure. This does not pertain to like personal signage that people want to put on their home for whatever reasons. Like a political sign or something like that.
No,
That does not
so
include.
political signs are considered government signs. Those are identified separately in the code and don't follow the same rules. They have their own set of rules.
Okay, thank you.
Councilors, further questions? I failed to mention earlier, I think, Counselor Lipke is participating via Zoom tonight, so she's present and has been since the start of the meeting. With that, I'll close the public hearing. Thank you, Katie. Councilors, next up, we have item D, first reading of ordinance 4906, considering amending various sections in Lewiston City Code Chapter 30 related to signage regulations and amending Section 37-140.1, subsection A to refer to the provisions in Chapter 30. This is an action item. Councilor Forsman?
Motion.
Motion's in order.
Motion to approve the first reading of ordinance number 4906. Second.
Been moved by Councilor Forsman, seconded by Councilor Schroeder to approve the first reading of ordinance number 4906. Is there any discussion or amendments? Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Carries. Clerk Brockie.
Approving the first reading of ordinance 4906, an ordinance of the City of Lewiston amending sections 30-2 and 30-8 of the Lewiston City Code to remove references to government signs, amending section 30-5 to add and amend definitions related to signs, amending section 30-6 to clarify that permits are required unless otherwise exempted by this chapter, amending section 30-11 to remove type 4 signs, amending section 30-12C to amend the regulations for signs in residential zones, amending sections 30-13 and 30-14 to limit the number of freestanding and/or ground monument signs in commercial zones, amending section 30-22 to alter relevant timeframes in the appeal process and specifying requirements in filing a notice of appeal, amending section 30-23 to change variance to waiver, amending section 30-24 to clarify the process for relocating or replacing signs installed before October 16, 2017, amending section 37-140.1A to refer to the provisions in chapter 30 and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Clerk Brockie. Councilors, next up, we move to item E, public hearing, 2024 Transportation Capital Improvement Plan. Receiving public testimony on the draft 2024 Transportation Capital Improvement Plan. Our Public Works Director, Dustin Johnson, is with us here tonight. Director, you know the routine. I'll open the public hearing. We'll have a staff presentation. We'll accept testimony from the public. Councilors, if you have questions, that will be your time to do that, and I would encourage you to. And then I will close the public hearing. So with that, I will declare the public hearing open. Director Johnson.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, Dustin Johnson, Public Works Director, here to talk to you about tonight about the transportation plans, specifically the capital improvement plan that's attached as an appendix to the 2020 transportation plan. I will come out and say two things. One, this is one of my favorite presentations of the council because it kind of gets the council an opportunity to kind of look into how we plan and budget and move forward on some of our larger transportation projects. So it has gives us a dialogue with the public watching to see how all of this stuff is cooked up. And then secondly, I will apologize because this is full of acronyms. Engineers love acronyms, and this is the one that has the most. So I will do my best to outline what the acronym says and why it's there. But if I skip over one, please wave me down and I'll do my best to make up something to make it sound. So now so going back, so this was right around COVID, so 2020 transportation plan. So what necessarily is a transportation plan? So it is a static document. Obviously this one was drafted and adopted in 2020. And it is essentially a snapshot of Lewiston's transportation network and system. It went through and evaluated what's good, what's bad, how we can improve it, kind of some measures outlining, designations of streets, a general just outline of the overall health of the network. What's unique about this particular, what we're here for tonight is, as I said, an appendix within this, which is called the Capital Improvement Plan. And so, you'll hear me say the CIP, Transportation CIP. So the CIP is a ranking of the projects that have been identified through the planning process. So currently, the adopted CIP has 142 projects. ranked. And that does not include our plans and studies. That is a separate sub-appendix of the capital improvement plan. When this transportation plan was adopted or put together, staff and the consultant and the council and the steering committee put a priority on what is called the project prioritization criteria, so the PPC. And the reason behind that is you wanted to make sure that all of the projects were treated equally, that you didn't have a pet project by either somebody on the steering committee or a staff member or a counselor that says, I want my private street to be paved and with sidewalks and all these other great things. And so we wanted to weight these projects accordingly. And so it's based off of accident data, traffic volumes, the shape, condition of the road. And so we weighted all this together and then put together the criteria. So when you rated out all these projects on this massive spreadsheet, it spit it out. And then we kind of truth tested it, saying, okay, that makes sense that, Airway isn't number one, but Bryden is really high up to the top. And the purpose of tonight is for us to reevaluate that criteria, to look back. What have we completed? What's changed since last year? So we had this. We've had public comment. What do we want to do with this? And so this is updated annually. So the CIP is specifically a dynamic document. I want to have conversations with anybody who will talk to me about the transportation network. I don't own it. This is our community's transportation network. So I want to get feedback. What works? What doesn't work? Why should this project be number one and this one should be number 10 or 142? And so the whole process of a CIP is to try and generate conversation and get buy-in on these projects. The one final why, as to why we're doing this tonight, is when we go out for grants or any funding, the authorities, whether it's federal or state or even local, they want to know how do you rank this project? So if I go and I have this really cool project and a lot of people came to me, but for whatever reason it's ranked 125, and I turn it in for a grant, they're going to say, you obviously did not get this, this is not vetted enough. You have not put enough priority. But if I come back and I show this project's been number one on the CIP for 10 straight years, and we've got these studies and these investments into it, we obviously have skin in the game, there's interest, and so you're more apt to get funding when you have you have a resume that you've actually have interest in seeing these projects move forward. So as part of that 2020 transportation plan was the public participation guide. And so these next quick slides are going to get into the specifics of, basically this is as I said, a dynamic document. It's always open. I'll take opinions, I'll take feedback any day. We write them down, we put them in the file, but at some point you have to compile all that comment and bring it forward to the council to update the list. And so you can kind of see, this was the 2020 plan. There's a lot of flow diagrams. You obviously can't read all the details, but you can see on the left, March all the way through to February and to where we have a public hearing tonight to adopt all of this. This was our updated chart that basically shows at the top, we do a request for projects. We put it out to the public and we say, what do you got? Name anything that is bothering you about the street network. And so we get a lot of feedback. A lot of it is not necessarily capital projects. A lot of it's broken, a sign knocked down, cracked sidewalk, bad asphalt, things that aren't necessarily something that's going to be weighted for a CIP, or it's already in a CIP. Somebody, a lot of times will say 21st Street looks terrible, you should fix it. Great, that's number 3 on the list or wherever it was. And so we compile that list and at that point, we take all the comments and we take all the projects that have been done and put together a draft CIP. And so now we're down on the bottom right, moving around the circle. And so that's when we put that, updated CIP out. And so that's what was published for this public hearing tonight, was that updated CIP. And then we take that back out for more comment to see, did we get it? Did we not get it? What's the comment? Traditionally, we get way more comments on what's broken than what do you think of the list. So you'll see we only got 2 comments on the public hearing for tonight, but I think we got 3 or 4 pages of comments on what's broken. Finally, just the public participation guide. This is specific to the process that we went through over the last couple months, starting in November to tonight for the March 11th public hearing. Before we get into the details, I love to share with you how do we fund these projects? How are the projects constructed? And so you'll see the top two lines, those are lines that are basically money that we control. As I say, Lewiston controls. Local funds, so property tax, gas tax that's allocated from the state, or the franchise fees that are charged to the private utilities, Avista, the ports, CenturyLink, those Sparklight pay into these franchise fees for the impact to the road network. Those fees are all programmed through the budget process, and so you guys are the ones who program those fees, or those funds. STP funds, Surface Transportation Funds, since we are a metropolitan planning organization sized community, we get a direct allocation of STP funds, Surface Transportation Funds. Those are programmed through the MPO. Currently, those tend to go towards, well, they have to go towards large capital projects. And so those are big projects that program through the process and take many years to get through. If you're funding we get less than $1 million a year programmed into that. And if you're going to try and construct a $15-20 million project plus design right-of-way acquisition, it's going to take you many years to utilize specifically just SDP funds. So right now, get in a little bit more detail when we call the specific projects, but Snake River Avenue, Bryden Phase 1, and 9th Street Grade are the three projects that are currently in the SDP hopper. And they're all set to be moving pretty quickly here now. The next alphabet soup below that, TAP, Transportation Alternative Program, FLAP, Federal Lands Access Program, and LSIP, which is a safety state program. Those are all grants. So those we apply for. The LSIP is a little bit more easy for at least engineers. It's programmed in, you either meet the criteria or you don't, and then you're ranked against other projects in the state. So that's a little bit more predictable. You're still competitive, so if somebody's better than you, you don't get it. And FLAP, Federal Lands, that's a very limited grant application. It's a federal project, and so the pedestrian walkway across Snake River that goes to the boat launch general area, that was a FLAP project. And so that one met the criteria for the grant. It was something that wasn't necessarily the highest on our priority list on CIP, but it met all the criteria. We applied for it, we got it. It was a several $100,000 project that we only paid matching fees. And so we continue to look for that. There's one benefit of these levies here, and that is all federal land. So we continue to try and utilize those as they're available. TAP is a sidewalk funding program. And then beyond that is miscellaneous grants. Later in tonight, we'll talk about the strategic initiatives. That's one that came up that we are going to be able to take advantage of. Wasn't programmed in any of this or any of our budgets, but we got it. And so that's good news. Those things, they may or they may not come. So it's hard to program capital planning when you don't know if they're going to come. All right, now into the specifics. One interesting thing that we found up to, again, before last year, council had traditionally just taken the recommendations either from the public or staff and hadn't really changed the ranking of these projects. And so that's fine. That's fine if you want to change them. That's what we're here for. But what we ended up happening was we had, as I said, the ranking criteria programmed into the spreadsheet. And then when we moved, this was last year, when we moved Main Street and D to number 1 instead of number 5, it kind of threw the engineers off. We didn't know how to react. So I think it was the mayor called me as soon as we published this saying, who bumped Main Street? And nobody bumped Main Street. So what's adopted, if it's on the books, is this. The Main Street's number 1, 21st is 2, Bryden Phase 1, Bryden Phase 2, and on down the line. It should be said, 10th and Burrell is done. We did take out projects that are completed. We did update the you'll see on the next page, we did update the cost estimate. So I'm kind of hoping for some feedback from the council of which is easier for you tonight to go back to what was adopted last year, so you know what was adopted and you can understand the thoughts. There's only one new counselor, but if you have a whole new counselor, it may get confusing as to why projects are ranked against the criteria. I can toggle back and forth once we get into the conversation, but this is how it was ranked with the updated numbers. As I said, only two public comments from what what we're advertising for the public hearing tonight. One was a turn lane off of Southway and installation of guardrail off of Brighton near 8th Street overpass. Our recommendation is to consider all the public comment, amend the plan as you see fit, and adopt the 2024 updates to the capital improvement plan. So with that, I am here for questions and discussion.
Thank you, Director. We're going to see if there's any testimony from the public. Also, Director, you mentioned receiving 2 comments. In our package, we have quite a few comments that have been gathered over, I think, probably the last year because.
Thanks for the clarification. Yeah, I did neglect to mention, in your packet, there was the call for projects. So that was the bigger list that was in there that was collected over the course of the year. So that was just the general call for projects. Those 2 were only the ones submitted for the public hearing. Additionally, there was a staff update. We updated where it was appropriate, and we updated all of the numbers by 2% just to try and keep things moving forward. And then if we had updated in estimates, so we have updated estimates on Brighton and Snake River. And so we updated the estimates where possible and got rid of anything that was not in there. And then, of course, you had the full CIP in your packet too.
Thank you, Director. So councilors, if you did not get a chance yet to review those comments, there's some good comments in here. And there's some from city employees too. There's some great comments in there that have provided, I think, some good insight, and then from the public too. But if you haven't had a chance to read them, they're in there, separate from the CIP, minus the exception of the 2 comments, one for Carroll Drive and one for Brighton Avenue. So, councilors, questions?
Sorry, go ahead.
I got Councilor Specklemeyer on the end.
Mayor, so, Director, I'm curious, and I think I've asked you this before, but if you go down through a lot of these, does the Public Works drive them and re-verify the issue?
I would say 100% on 1 through 25. There's a lot of, when this plan was compiled, there's a lot of bike and ped projects that were called out, and they get kind of pushed down on the bottom. And I can tell you, we've probably not gone through and verified all of those other smaller projects on there.
Yeah, because there's a couple of them, like number 6. I don't see how that one ever made number 6 myself.
Oh, yep, yes, that is one that that again goes back to the criteria, because I myself caught that one and asked why is that one so high, and it just met the criteria. It has lack of sidewalk, it must have traffic volume. I'm not quite, I haven't gone down and dove into the numbers, but I tend to side with you. Is it probably, not that it isn't merit being a project, but to be number 6, from my opinion, would not be that high.
Councilor Klein?
So, on the 2024 capital improvement list, it has Brighton Avenue expansion on the top 2 priorities. Why is that?
That one met the criteria. So this goes, so that one that's on the screen right now, this is based off of the criteria. So I can almost guarantee you that's based off of traffic belt. It has no sidewalk or little sidewalk, high traffic volumes, some congestion, no bike lanes, no pedestrians, and probably some accident data. And so you compile all that, and the criteria is going to spit out Brighton Phase 1 and Brighton Phase 2.
So, Director, if I can just add to that for Councilor Klein's benefit. So last year, council saw kind of a similar list, and then they voted on that list. And so they actually, Director was referring to, they kind of reordered a couple of things and put Main Street up to number 1, and then they voted on that. So before the night's over, if you'd like to do something different, you can always entertain that thought. But that's what happened last year, just kind of the similar kind of thing, and then Main Street moved up the list, just to give you some reference to that. So, Councilor Forsman.
Borough, I think 12th through 18th Street, that is near the, like trailer park and area where there's just no sidewalk and the asphalt's pretty much falling apart at this point, right? So that seems to me that should be up a little, that should be higher. That road's just getting worse as it sits there. Personally like to see that higher. Is there a reason maybe that, because that's also, I know it's not a huge high traffic area, but there is no sidewalk.
Yeah, and Burl, that, at least that section of Burl, we've been working with some of the property owners, and some of it is just frontage improvements that, the private property, it's the responsibility of the private property owner for their frontage improvements. And at least the trailer parks have been working, we have had conversations with both. One made a little bit more progress, but neither has actually gotten the project done. I think one may get it done this spring or as soon as the weather warms up enough. So that kind of compounds. Not to say that that's whole section, because you can see the estimate for that is $7.6 million. So it's not a cheap project, but you start including the other, private frontage improvements, that could be done. It wouldn't look so bad.
Are they looking at, sorry, follow up.
Counselor?
Are they looking at sidewalk? Is that what they're doing?
Yeah,
Okay.
curb gutter and I think sidewalk. Yeah, sidewalk.
Thank you.
Yeah, and council too, I don't know if the director mentioned it, but just because it's listed on here and there's some dollar amounts here does not mean that funding has been secured. And that's why the director gave us a list of the different funding types. So it's going to be our job and his job to go find the money sometimes, Director.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I can walk through real quick. Bryden phase 1 is closing out in right away and we'll be moving forward in right away. 21st Street, you'll see the second phase of those improvements, and yes, those nasty patches will be going away with nice, clean black asphalt on top of it. So that project's moving forward. We have the city's in negotiations with Maine for design of Main Street. I think I talked, 9th Street grade, that's STP project, and Snake River Road, 11th to Southway, which is phase 2. Snake River Road phase 3 is after that, which isn't in design, and I don't know that there's much else in design or under construction or planned for construction beyond that. So the conversation tonight is to help weight this, and like I said earlier, if a grant comes forward and it meets the criteria, so FLAP is a great one where it ties into some federal lands access. It may not even be on the screen, number 27, but none of these other ones in front of it meet that criteria. We're going to apply for it. We may get it. And so, just to have the flexibility, we go, as soon as we see a grant or any funding opportunities, we go right down this list. And if there's a void and there's an opportunity, we'll take it.
Councilor Spickelmeyer.
I'm kind of going back to the question about that Burrell, whatever number it was up there, it's 16. 12th to 18th, that's over by the fairgrounds. The one that's the mobile home parks, that's 4th to 7th.
Oh, 4 to 7, thank you.
I think that's down at number 30.
It's off my list here.
Pet project.
Mayor.
Councilor Forsman.
We have some at least grants lined up for Snake River Ave, right? And some of those others you just mentioned.
Yeah, so those are all, a great example would be Snake River. So Snake River Ave here, we have to do phase 2 before we can do phase 3. So for whatever reason, phase 3 ranks higher than phase 2. So this one, 11th to Southway, so the roundabout to 11th, right there at CCI and Knox Concrete there. That one was in the STP hopper. It was set for construction, or we were kind of getting close to getting ready to put it out for construction. It would be probably 25, 26. But then we got strategic initiatives. So that's on that's after this public hearing. So I'll be bringing that here in about 10 minutes to you for consideration. And so that will now fall off the STP realm. So that money, or most of them, we'll still have a little bit paid for STP. That will then move 9th Street grade, which is designed. So it will be done faster. So then all the STP funds will then move forward programs as they're available into Bryden. And soon thereafter, I think it will be, as we wrap up all these projects, looking forward into like 2030, we'll probably be looking to program our next STP project. which
Counselor
will pick
Forster.
off this list.
All right, one last question. This $10 million estimate for 21st Street, is that with a complete overhaul of it, correct? Like, starting from scratch, basically?
Yes, that's a good question. I think that's probably an underestimate, but I think that's an updated underestimate. The phase that we're doing now is about a fifth of that, so 2 million, between 2 and 3 million. So it would be more than that once you include sidewalks and complete sub excavation. So I'm thinking that that might be an undersell. I mean, these are, some of these, so like 21st Street, that's a planning level estimate that we're just using multipliers each year to kind of get it as best we can. This one here, the top one here, that's pretty true right there, because that one's designed. We have Brighton phase 1 designed, so that's a true number. But I know the phase 2, which we have not designed, is just a planning level one. So we try to program the numbers as best we can as we get more information, but we won't have all this information accurately to try and track.
Counselor Spickelmeyer.
Thank you, Mayor. So follow on to that one here, it says that number 3, that was reconstruct and upgrading for ADA compliant sidewalks and other things. Is a lot of that what we did this fall?
Yeah, or well, we haven't finished it yet, but a lot of that will be started actually next week.
They did the ramps and stuff?
Yeah, do the ramps. Yeah. Yeah. So I expect 21st to drop on this list. Not to say that it's still not going to be a capital project. It will drop because you will have ADA compliance, you'll have smoother pavement. Traffic will still be an issue. I mean, we can't do much about the traffic, but I expect it to drop down the list. But the underlying message, which goes back to the work session we had last week, of the base is rotten. So we can do our best to firm up and use some experimental asphalt to make that stretch out another 10, 15 years, but it's going to need to reconstruct.
Counselor Lidke.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Director Johnson, can you tell me why 20th Street North and State Highway 28 is included in the top 5?
I don't know. That was the one Councilor Spickelmeyer and I were just talking about. The only reason I can come up with, and we've talked about this as a staff, I bumped it, is that it meets the criteria. It doesn't have sidewalks. It doesn't have curb gutter. I'm sure the asphalt is not great, so it has a low pavement index. I'm going to defer to the MPO director who is assisted in this, so she might have a better answer.
Shannon Groh, Lewis Clark Valley MPO Director. 20th Street North is identified as a route on the bike master plan. And so when there's no sidewalk, when it's identified as a route on the bike master plan, it adds points to a project. So that would be why this one ranks high. It might also have to do with it being in the port area. And so freight movement also happens on 20th Street North. So it's just an illustration of how those qualifying criteria are important, but it might raise up a project that might not be important to you. And so that's why you have the opportunity to bump it down if you'd like.
The only other thing I would add
Thank you,
is that you'll notice the dollar amounts. So one of everybody's favorite projects was the 10th and Burrell roundabout. One reason it was funded was, well, it was so high and it was so cheap, so it was easy to be funded. So this would give you an opportunity to not have another one of those where you may not feel it ranks very high, but staff looks at this and says, hey, bang for a buck here, that's a great project. But if you have reviewed it and said that doesn't, I'd rather see any of these other projects. These other projects may take longer because they're, the cheapest ones here is $2 million and $10 million, but they may be worth more to you.
Thank you, Director.
Follow up.
Counselor Lidke.
Thank you, and I apologize for not catching what you were referring to earlier with Councilor Spickelmeyer's question. So I just want to clarify what I heard was this particular road is considered part of the bypass? Is that what I heard?
No, it is a city street, but it is connected to the bypass through the port. And so it may, the way the ranking criteria that forms this CIP, it puts weight in different criteria. And so it probably, I didn't realize is part of the bike route, part of a freight route, maybe deficient in sidewalk and all the other criteria, that would make it rank so high. But it is just a connector to the bypass. It is not, this is a city maintained street.
Thanks. One more follow-up.
Counselor?
Have you received any complaints, information from businesses or the port in that area with concerns as to needing that to be improved in any time frame?
I have had conversations with the port. I did meet with the port, with the formation of the stormwater utility, and they did express interest that they would like to see more investment in the city streets that are located in the port. I don't know that we got too specific, but this, they would like to see investment in the city streets, especially if they're going to be paying, more for stormwater utilities. So that was the only conversation I had, but I did not receive any comment from them specific to this project or anything else on the CIP.
Thanks. I just have one more question if I can, Mayor.
Counselor?
As to 21st Street, or excuse me, not 21st Street, Bryden, we've seen a lot of feedback from the community in that area. And I'm just trying to wrap my head around who's really driving funding and timeframes. Is that your department, or is that more so through the MPO so that we could adjust our CIP to reflect more of what the city has control over as far as going after funding?
That is yes, no, maybe. There's a lot into that question. So the reason that Bryden has taken so long is because the city opted to fund it solely through the STP funds. If at any point the city put more money into it, it would have sped up the process. I say that, but at this point now, there are funds available. But the project's been federalized. And so when you federalize a project, there's certain criteria that you have to do. So right-of-way acquisition, you have to go through all of the criteria that the federal government requires you to do when you acquire right-of-way. So it's now going to be a little bit more tedious to go through and negotiate with each property owner. And the funds may or may not be there right now to get all of the right-of-way. So you may have to accumulate more funds, or you can put more money in of your own into it. But it's been a combination of the city probably being too reliant on solely STP funds to fund a project. And then once you're in the STP project, federalized, it takes time. So I don't think where we're at today necessarily, with the grants that we've received for, a strategic initiative, I think we will see a speed up in process. But the problem, so let's just use Bryden Phase 1 as an example. We between the federal funds we've received and the grants that offset the demand from other projects feed into that project, we still have nothing for Phase 2. And so I've had some conversations with counselors and members of the public that are somewhat frustrated, saying you're going to complete Phase 1 from 4th to 7th, but then you start all over, and it's a 20-year process to go through design, environmental, right-of-way, construction to get all the way to Thane. And that may not, some people have been very blunt that that's not acceptable to them. And so in order to speed this up to say 4th to Thane and make this one larger project or two projects that are kind of dovetailed together, that would take local funds. Or some larger grant that's not funded through STP. So that's kind of a long-winded answer, but I feel like that is a great question for tonight, because I think you look at how Bryden has gone, good, bad, or otherwise. I think slow would describe it. It's been a long, tedious process, but it's it takes time, but also the way we've gone about it, it makes it even slower.
Thanks, Director. I think the key word in there was it became a federal project.
Counselor Klein, did you have one last question?
Yeah, I had one last question. So with that Bryden project, that first Bryden project, does that 15 million include the negotiations with the homeowners?
Yes, that does include everything.
Counselor Kleber?
All right, I'll go stick my head on the chopping block. Counselor Lickey, thanks for asking that question, because yes, and for several reasons. One is it's a dangerous road. There is no pedestrian access. I mean, that's it. There's a few sidewalks here and there. If you look at the traffic data, and we've been through this before because I brought it up before, but for those of you in the room now, Fifth and Bryden has the highest count on accidents in the city. 7th and Bryden's number 2, I believe. 10th and Bryden is number 3, and number 4 is down by Rogers Motors. It's 16th and 21st. And number 5 is Thane and Bryden. 5 of the top ranked intersections in Lewiston involving accidents are on Bryden. Time to do something about it and get it widened up and keep traffic moving safely, not queued up into big, huge, long lines, and get some curb gutter and sidewalk on there. It is going to take a while to do it, obviously, but yeah, I think it's a very important project for this community and for the growth of the orchards. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Counselor. Those are good closing comments. I thought we had some great comments tonight. There's no further comments. I'm going to close the public hearing. And thank you all. Thank you, Director.
Only question I have for the council, do you want me to leave up the last year's adopted CIP or the criteria CIP?
Counselors, preference? This is what it looked like last year, maybe a little bit different, and then we reordered it last year. We're going to do that next with Resolution 2024-7. If you'd like to change the order, you can make a motion to do that. And the council, or director is asking you, this is based on the what the engineers provided, or he can show last year. So do you have a preference? Councilor Spickelmeyer?
So my question then is to follow, is this, are we going to talk about it further, or you just wanting to know which list we're going to go off of?
Which list you want to go off of?
What was in your packet?
I would prefer last year's list.
Okay, so this is last year's list. What was in your packet was the criteria. So as you're making your motion, I just want to make sure when you say changing one, which one you're changing from one.
Okay. Thank you, Director. Well, with that, we will close the public hearing, move on to item F, Resolution 2024-7. Considering adopting the City of Lewiston 2024 Transportation Capital Improvement Plan. This is an action item. Director Johnston's here to answer any questions you may have. Otherwise, councilors, I would open it up for a motion. Councilor Speckelmeyer?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to move item 2020-019, I guess I should say replace with 2020-114. That would be the Burrell. 019 is the Burrell 4th to 9th, I believe, and the 114 is the 20th Street North project.
Councilor, I'm trying to follow you on, is it up there?
The 114, that's number 6, and the Burrell one, I believe, is number 30.
So you're saying just switch them?
Okay, so councilors, we're going to do this one at a time so that we don't have a whole lot of confusion, and then Tanya can make sure that we're keeping things straight, and Ms. Jennifer too. So you have last year. So what are those numbers again, Counselor? I'm sorry.
Number 6 and number 30.
I'd like to switch places.
And I guess my biggest reason with number 30 is.
We need a second before we discuss it,
I'll
Counselor.
second
So-
it.
Okay, it's been moved by Counselor Spickelmeyer, second by Counselor Kleberg, to adopt the 2023 top 25 projects as shown on the screen, but we're going to flip number 6 and number 30. Counselor Spickelmeyer.
Mr. Mayor,
Counselor Spickelmeyer has the floor.
No, I'll give it.
Okay, Counselor Litkey?
I cannot see what you guys see, the list. Could that be shared so it's a little bigger on? Thank you.
So Counselor, if you have your packet, and you go to the 2024 Transportation Capital Improvement Plan, you'll see rank number 30, and Counselor Spickelmeyer, please correct me if I'm wrong. The number 30 rank is Burl Avenue, 4th Street to 12th Street.
Correct.
And Counselor Spickelmeyer's motion is to move that from number 30 on the CIP, the 2024 Transportation CIP Plan, to number 6, and then to move number 6 down to number 30. And number 6 is the, well, that doesn't line up here.
So he's referencing last year's, that's on the screen here.
So this year's,
In your packet, it is number 4.
yeah, it's already moved.
Counselor Litkey, are you able to follow that in your packet?
Yeah, now that I can see what Counselor Spickelmeyer was looking at on the screen.
Okay, so again, counselors, the motion is to swap places. Number 30, move up to number 6, and number 6, move down to 30. And again, the two projects, just to be clear, is Burl Avenue, 4th Street to 12th Street. That's number 30. And then number 6 is 20th Street North, State Highway 128. Is there further discussion?
I guess I'm confused, because on here on the 2024 CIP, you already have Burl from 4th to 12th on number 5, unless I'm misreading it. And at least in my packet here. Under the 2020 Transportation CIP call for requesting log, or is that
So,
maybe?
Counselor, this ranking is what the engineers provided for us, but it's not the same as the plan we adopted last year, which is shown on the screen up above
Yeah, I
in
don't
front of us.
have that packet in my,
So if you
Right.
go to the 24 Transportation Capital Improvement Plan provided by Public Works, it has the descriptions, and the number 30 project, rank 30 is the Burl Avenue, 4th Street to 20th Street, which is not shown on that slide up there. Counselor Spickelmeyer's motion is to move it up to number 6 and then move the number 6 project, 20th Street North, State Highway 128, into the 4th Street to 12th Street Burl Avenue project. Am I correct, Director? Okay.
okay, I'm seeing it now.
Okay, that's the motion. Is there further discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Litkey?
could I make a friendly amendment just because I noticed that number 5 is 10th Street and Burl, which is completed? Could we remove that and then Burl would then become number 5?
Yeah, I'm not frustrated with you guys. I'm frustrated with the process in that yes, you're seeing the slide from what was adopted. That one is now off. So it is off our plan. It's gone.
So Director, then will number 30 actually become number 5? As current number 5 will drop off.
Yep, you're right. It will go to 5.
Councilors, are you okay with that? the second? Counselor Kleberg?
Sure.
Okay. Do counselors understand the motion?
Excuse me, Mayor.
Jennifer?
Jennifer Tangano, Assistant City Attorney. The proposed resolution that's in front of you has the 2024 Transportation Capital Improvement Plan list. For Councilor Spickelmeyer's motion, Project 2020-114 is actually ranked number 4 overall on the project list. And it's not using the 2023 adopted projects list. So it's a different list. So it appears that the Borough Avenue, 4th Street to 12th Street is still ranked number 30. So I think the proposed amendment would need to reflect the current ranking as presented in the resolution.
And that was why I originally went with the actual project number, because it was confusing between the two lists.
We won't be having this problem next year.
So counselors, we're going to have to disregard the slide up above there. And if you look at your packets, if you don't have it, the City of Lewiston 2024 Transportation Capital Improvement Plan lists Burl Avenue, 4th Street to 12th Street is ranked number 30. Counselor, and in the 2024 CIP, it lists the 20th Street North State Highway 128 is project number 4. And so, Counselor Spickelmeyer, if you are okay with that change to your motion and the second agrees with that, then the motion would be to swap places between, this case, project number 30 and project number 4. Project 30 would become number 4 and 4 will become 30.
Yes.
Okay, Counselor Lakey, that would take care of the concerns that you identified with the 10th and Borough project. That we're going to work from the list that was attached to the resolution.
It's listed on the screen
Yep,
now.
that was the list I was looking at, but they left this one up, so I was trying to figure out what was being.
Okay.
What's
Are
on
you-
the screen now matches the packet.
Are you clear with the motion now, Counselor? Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So this list is now what's in your packet
Yes.
with this public hearing. So now if you wanted to go back and move Main Street back to where it was and 21st Street where it was, you'll need to
I'll
make
ask-
that motion too.
Ask him about that. Thank you, Counselor, Director. Okay, Counselors, if there's no further discussion, Clerk Rocky?
Council President Kleber,
Aye.
Counselor Schroeder,
Aye.
Counselor Forsman,
Aye.
Counselor Klein,
Aye.
Counselor Spickelmeyer,
Aye.
Counselor Lidkey.
Aye.
Hey, Counselors, are there any further amendments? It was pointed out to me or to all of us by Director Johnson that the 2024 Transportation Capital Improvement Plan does not show Main Street as number 1 as council voted last year. So if council would like to reestablish that from number 5 to number 1, there's going to have to be a motion made to that effect.
Mr. Mayor, for a motion,
Counselor Lidkey?
I would move that we move CIP ID number 2020-096, Main Street and D Street, Interstate Bridge to Jefferson Street to position number 1 and move all corresponding projects down 1 ranking.
Second.
Been moved by Counselor Lidkey, seconded by Counselor Kleber to move CIP ID number 2020-096 from its current rank of 5 to number 1, and all other projects will move down 1 rank. Like that change. Is there further discussion? Clerk Rocky?
Council President Kleber,
Aye.
Counselor Schroeder,
Aye.
Counselor Forsman,
Aye.
Counselor Klein,
Aye.
Counselor Spickelmeyer,
Aye.
Counselor Lidke.
Aye.
Thank you, counselors. Motion passes. Are there further motions? Counselor
Mayor?
Klein?
I have an amendment to make, but I'm not sure how to word it.
Okay, well, what would you like to do?
I would like to move currently 1 and 2 on the list and swap it with 8 and 9 since it's already being.
Okay, so currently, we just made a motion. Counselor, so number 5 moves to number 1, and then everything else is renumbered. So 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 3, and so forth. Okay? So you would like to,
I would like to move to amend having ranking 2 and 3 swapped with swap with 8 and 9.
what with 8 and 9? Okay, so 2 and 3 currently are 3 and 4. Right, because they all went up 1. Right? Because we just amended, we moved number 5 up to number 1. So number 2 becomes 3 and 3 becomes 4. Right? So then 8 becomes 9, 9 becomes 10.
Excuse me, Mayor. Jennifer Tangano, Assistant City Attorney. I think for the sake of simplicity, we can use the existing numbers on the rankings, and then once the amended list is developed, it'll reflect the numbers as the counselors are intending them to be. So that way, as we move things around, we don't have to reevaluate which number we're requesting
Okay.
to evaluate.
It takes some of the fun out of it, but we can do that. Alrighty, so Counselor Klein, your motion then is to take what's currently listed on the 2024 CIP plan as rank number 2 and 3 and swap those with ranks 8 and 9 in that order. Is that correct?
1 and 2. I want to swap 1 and 2 with 8 and 9.
The current 1 and 2.
Current 1 and 2.
Could I just get some clarification? Could you use like either the CIP ID number
I
or
will use this,
location?
yes, Counselor, I would do that. I need a second on this motion.
I'll second for discussion, even though I'm a little behind on where we're at.
Sure. So the motion is to move CIP ID number 2020-123 and 2020-124.
122 and 123.
1 and 2. All right, you see, okay, here we go. Counselor Lidke, one more time. The motion is to move CIP ID number 2020-122 and 2020-123 with CIP ID number 2020-100 and 2020-103 in that order.
Got it, thank you.
Thank you. Counselors, are you clear on the motion? Okay, and I get a second on Counselor Klein's motion?
Second.
Second. Counselors, if you understand the motion, Clerk Rocky?
Council President Kleberg,
Aye.
Counselor Schroeder,
Aye.
Counselor Forsman,
Aye.
Counselor Klein,
Aye.
Counselor Spickelmeyer,
Nay.
Counselor Lidke.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, counselors. Are there any further amendments?
Mayor.
Counselor Forsman?
I want to move schools central up. I am struggling a little bit where to put it, but it's basically so that a lot of the schools in Lewiston will have more sidewalks for our children. Not exactly sure where to put it. So maybe replace 2020-118 down to where I lost my spot. Down to 2020-092. So have those swap places.
Okay, one more time, Counselor.
So 2020-092, move up to
2020-09, which number, what's the rank on that?
13.
Number 20? Okay.
Yeah, so the schools is ranked,
Number
I hate
20,
looking
yeah.
at this, yeah,
CIP ID 2020-092, okay.
and then have it moved up to 13.
Ahead of 2020-118.
Yes.
Counselors, you have a motion for you to move CIP ID number 2020-092, which is the number 20th ranked, move that above CIP ID 2020-113, which is currently ranked as number 13.
Oh, it's 118, I think, isn't it? 118, isn't it? CIP 2020-118, ranked 13.
Oh, 118, I struck through it. Counselors, yes, 2020-092, which is number 20, be moved above 2020-118, which is currently ranked number 13. Second?
I'll second.
I'll second.
Moved by Counselor Forsman, second by Counselor Kleberg, to move CIP ID 2020-092, currently ranked 20. I forgot, did you swap them or move it ahead?
I moved it up. Well, I swapped
You
them.
moved it above
Yeah.
CIP ID 2020-118, currently ranked number 13. Is there further discussion?
I just want to speak to my motion.
Okay.
Our kids cannot be good at walking on heavy streets as is. And with having to put cars in the bucket and them not having an adequate area to walk home, especially I see a lot of little ones walking home from school. I think it's important that we make sure that gets done, hopefully sooner than later, so that they have an adequate way to get into and from school.
Thank you, Counselor. Clerk Brockney?
Council President Kleberg,
Aye.
Councilor Schroeder,
Aye.
Councilor Forsman,
Aye.
Councilor Klein,
Aye.
Councilor Spiegelmeier,
Aye.
Councilor Lidkey.
Aye.
Counselors, further motions? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2024-7 as amended. Counselor Kleber,
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve resolution 2024-7
Second.
as amended.
As amended. Second. Been moved by Council President Kleber, seconded by Councilor Forsman to approve Resolution 2024-7 as amended. Is there discussion? Clerk Brockey?
Council President Kleberg,
Aye.
Councilor Schroeder,
Aye.
Councilor Forsman,
Aye.
Councilor Klein,
Aye.
Councilor Spiegelmeier,
Aye.
Councilor Lidkey.
Aye.
Hope everybody brought an umbrella. Pouring.
Okay, Councilors, we move to Roman numeral 6, consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda are considered routine by the council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these issues unless the council so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered on the active agenda under items removed from the consent agenda.
Need a motion to approve the consent? Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Been moved by Council President Kleber, seconded by Councilor Forsman to approve the consent agenda. Is there discussion? Hearing none, Clerk Rocky?
Council President Kleberg,
Aye.
Counselor Schroeder. Aye. Counselor Forsman.
Aye.
Counselor Klein,
Aye.
Counselor Spiegelmeier,
Aye.
Counselor Lidke.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, councilors. Thank you, Clerk Rocky. Councilors, next we move to the active agenda. Item A, building feasibility study. Considering approving a building feasibility study in the amount of $55,000 to Clearwater Financial and authorizing the mayor to sign. It says Mayor Johnson. I'm listed as the contact on this. I will say too that Ms. Warren here is with us tonight, our facilities manager. Valerie, if you'd like to offer some words of wisdom, I'll turn the floor over to you first and I can fill in the blanks. Please introduce yourself for the record. Thank you.
Valerie Warren, Facilities Supervisor for the city. And this is to do a study for facilities for the city to help us moving forward with devising a plan of best practices, best use of properties, and best use of funds. We currently do not have a facilities plan in place. And I'll answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Ms. Warren. Councilors, any questions?
Mayor.
Councilor Forsman?
So just so I'm understanding, is this so we can kind of get an idea of like buildings that need more work or buildings that we should be paying attention to more, or kind of like our CIP, but for buildings?
Correct, yeah, it's to understand what the major needs for the buildings are, what's the best practice moving forward with those buildings, and so on.
This, my understanding is it'll be a building block for a future facilities master plan, kind of similar to what we do with CIP stuff. For roads and everything like we just talked about. Councilor Spiegelmeier?
So does it also take into account like conditioning? They look at that as well?
Absolutely, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So kind of compare it to how much it costs to bring it back up to code or repairs as to its value and.
Correct, yes, whether the repairs are worthy of the value of the property and if it meets the needs of the occupants and so on. Yeah.
Councilor Schroeder?
Motion?
Motion's in order.
Move to approve the use of the funds for the Building Infrastructure Reserve account for a building feasibility study conducted by Clearwater Financial and authorizing the mayor to execute the agreement between the city of Lewiston and Clearwater Financial.
Second.
Thank you.
And moved by Councilor Schroeder, seconded by Councilor Lidke, to approve the use of funds from the Building Infrastructure Reserve account for a building feasibility study conducted by Clearwater Financial and authorizing the mayor to execute the agreement between the city of Lewiston and Clearwater Financial. Is there further discussion? Councilor Schroeder, would you like to speak to your motion?
Well, I think that we definitely need to keep assessing all of the buildings that we have. And so going forward, this would be the foundation of doing that, and got a good start on it because you've been doing very due diligence. Thank you.
Clerk
Mr.
Rock?
Mayor?
Oh, Councilor Lidke?
Just to basically second Councilor Schroeder, I think when we talk about sustainability of budget, we need to look at our buildings. But I also see a representative from Clearwater Financial. Were they going to speak to their proposal at all?
Councilor, and I see Ms. Stoll on there. Welcome, Christine. Councilor, if you have a question for Christine, you are sure welcome to ask her that question, provided she can hear us. If she just wave or something, so I know you can hear us, Christy. Yeah, okay. Councilor, do you have a question for Clearwater Financial?
I do. I just, reading through this, I was hoping to just get some clarification on, I understand you'll be looking at our buildings, but will you be looking at potential consolidation, availability, et cetera? Like, how in-depth are we going with this study?
Christine, please introduce yourself for the record. The floor is yours. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Christine Stoll. I'm with Clearwater Financial. Happy to be here with you. Thank you, Council, for having me, and thank you for the question. So we are looking at, from speaking to the mayor, we are looking at 5 of your buildings to 5 of your current buildings. We're also looking at some potential commercial buildings that you are considering or could be considering to determine if we can consolidate into the 5 current buildings that you have and the programs within those buildings to potential new commercial buildings in your area.
Councilor Lidkey?
Goodness gracious.
Thank you. That is a great explanation. Good enough for me.
Councilor Spickmeyer?
Thank you, Mayor. I guess my only hesitation is the city spends a lot of money on the evaluations and studies and reports. And I would just, after we get the report, I guess the question is, what would be the next step? What would you be presenting? A suggestion to us, or do we just set this on the shelf and watching it as we do with the rest of the studies?
No, this study is key to being able to present to you a proposal that we can move forward with. And it's also a big part of the building block that can build the base to a facilities plan for the future as well. So not only what are we going to do, but how are we going to do it from there on out. That also allows me more power in grant money and funding and as well. So it allows me even more movement to get those items done.
Very good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any further questions. Clerk Rocky?
Council President Kleberg,
Aye.
Councilor Schroeder,
Aye.
Councilor Forsman,
Aye.
Councilor Klein,
Aye.
Councilor Spicklemeyer,
Aye.
Councilor Lidkey.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, councilors. Thank you, Christine, for being with us tonight. Thank you, Clerk Rocky. Okay, next up, we have item B, wastewater headworks admin design RFQ-24-005 for NWW062 and paren, considering approving the master agreement between Keller Incorporated and City of Lewiston for RFQ-24-005 wastewater headworks and admin design in the amount of $522,300 and authorizing the mayor to sign the agreement. This is an action item, and once again, back by popular demand, we have our Public Works Director, Dustin Johnson.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, Dustin Johnson, Public Works Director. In front of you tonight is the wastewater headwork / admin design contract. Again, I standing offer to any councilor or even any members of the public who would like to have a tour of our fancy new wastewater treatment plant. Come on out and give us a call. We'd love to give you a tour of the facility. With that being said, there's 2 large capital investments that need to be made to kind of wrap up the big investments that we've done, and these are the last 2. One is the headworks, so the receiving where they come into the plant it's hydraulically a little bit challenging to work out there the way it's configured. So this will open up the overall capacity for the plant as it was designed and upgraded for. And then the admin building, which is just outdated and undersized for the facilities that we have out there now. Both of these, they're same site, but somewhat separate projects, have been budgeted in the FY24. So it's in the budget, and the projects will be paid for by wastewater enterprise funds and have been programmed into the master plan for several years. So this is just kind of wrapping up the end of that master plan, and I'm here for questions if there are any.
Thank you, Director. Councilors, questions for the Director?
Not a question,
Councilor
more of a comment. I highly suggest taking that tour. It's eye-opening. Also, there is no flushable wipes. Confirm that. Even if it says flushable, they're not flushable.
Councilor Spicklemeyer.
Thank you, Mayor. So Director, this, for each of them, about 240,000 or 280. So that's just for the design work?
Yep. Yeah, yeah, I mean, typically design work, engineering's anywhere from, on the low end, 15 to 25% of a project. So you can extrapolate that out. And
So to follow up on it then, so it says in here that it's going to be from the fees incurred, but, so it won't cause any increase?
no, what ended up happening with this project, we had a backlog because of, I mean, COVID, you're running out of time to blame COVID, but this is kind of the tail end of that. We had all this stuff programmed into the budgets, and we couldn't get it out fast enough. So the money is there to spend for these upgrades. We just got to get it out the door.
Okay.
So yeah, rates won't be impacted by this capital project. It's actually overdue.
Here.
Mr. Mayor,
1 second, Councilor Lippy. Councilor Schroeder.
I'd like to make a motion.
Motion's in order,
Counselor Lidkey.
if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Councilor Lippy.
Director, so just to be really clear, so these are the plans to get a design for both, we'll say structure, because I don't know if the one is the actual building or what it is. And then we have the money in our utility funds to pay for this, plus the build.
Yes. Plus pipeline replacement.
And we'll be able to not fall behind in our utility funds for future updates, et cetera, correct?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, we haven't bid them yet, but yes, the budget is all, you know, with the budgeting and the designing, we are expected to have the funds available and not have a significant impact on the rates. These two are kind of the tail end of, you know, when we talk about master plans and CIPs, these are the two, probably the biggest ones that are remaining in that. So we'll move forward into our next master plan for wastewater, and that is going to be more focused on the collection system. So it'll be pipes and lift stations and things like that. And so our big money items, knock on wood, should be closed out with these two projects.
Follow up, sorry.
Councilor Lippy.
Okay, so, are these an afterthought, or is this a part of that original bond to do the upgrade?
It's all been part of the plan.
Okay. Thank you.
Director, I do have one quick question here. Before Councilor Schroeder makes her motion, and my question is, when I look at the professional services agreement, is this dollar amount for just the first two tasks?
I don't have that contract in front of me.
Okay, so let's see, task one, total cost is 239, let's do the math there, just call it 240. Task two is 282, so that would be 522. Is that about what we're looking at here? It is 522, okay. So in the professional services master agreement, it says the following future task orders are anticipated at this time. Task order 3 is the admin building, task 4 is headworks, task 5 is headworks, and then additional work at the treatment plants requested by the city. So these other tasks that will be coming, those will be additional dollars, I presume. And will they necessarily be awarded to the same engineering firm, or will those be bid separately or competitively?
Are those talking about construction administration and inspection?
Administration building services include bidding, construction, phase services, construction
Yeah,
observation
so
services.
those would be part of not part of this contract, but additional at the future date that can be directly awarded to Keller.
Same firm, okay. Counselor Schroeder.
Mayor, I move to award RFQ-24-005 to Keller Associates Incorporated and authorize the mayor to execute the agreement between the city of Lewiston and Keller Associates, Inc.
Second.
Been moved by Counselor Schroeder, second by Counselor Forsman to award RFQ-24-005 to Keller Associates Incorporated and authorizing the mayor to execute the agreement between the city of Lewiston and Keller Associates, Inc. Clerk Rocky.
Aye.
Counselor Schroeder?
Aye.
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 Thank you, councilors. Next up, item C, resolution 2024-6, considering approving a memorandum of understanding between the Idaho Transportation Department and the city of Lewiston for the FY 2024 Strategic Initiatives Program Local Transportation Grant Program. This is an action item, and again, we have our Public Works Director, Dustin Johnson, with us. Director, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Dustin Johnson, Public Works Director. In front of you, we talked a little bit about it earlier. So as I outlined during the CIP conversation, the Snake River Avenue, so it was broken out initially into 3 phases. The first phase has been constructed, which is the Southway Snake River Roundabout. Phase 2 is from the roundabout to 11th Street. Phase 3 is 11th Street to Main Street. It was programmed into the STP fund many years ago, predating me, and it was progressing through. It is fully designed, or at least designed at the time. So when the design came through, it did not have the tracks on the riverside there at Kiwanis Park. Those tracks still remain. So there has to be some updates to the design. Long story short, basically, since this is sitting on the STP fund, we have a design sitting on the shelf ready to go. There was some money that was available, strategic initiatives, and so it was kind of funneled off to the MPOs in the state of Idaho. Everybody applied for these funds, and the city was selected. So our award was $3.7 million. And so our strategy is to utilize this grant first to construct it. I think the way that escalating prices and some of the redesign work will push it a little over the $3.7 million, but we still have plenty of funds available in the STP funding and plus the local dollars for the match to the STP dollars. And so what we're asking for tonight is to have authorize the mayor to sign the MOU so we can proceed ahead with constructing Snake River Avenue from Southway to 11th. I'm here for questions.
Thank you, Director. Councilors? Counselor Forsman?
And just so I understand, this grant only can go for this project. This is what it was.
They had some very specific ranking criteria. One was it needed to basically be shovel ready. So the goal was to get the money from the state of Idaho into projects immediately. And we only had 2 real projects that were designed and ready to go, and that's Snake River and 9th Street grade. And actually, we applied for all 3 that we had. Bryden's design too, but we didn't have right of way. So this was the one that was selected.
Counselor Kleberg?
Make a motion to approve resolution 2024-6.
Second.
Been moved by Counselor Kleberg, seconded by Counselor Schroeder to approve resolution 2024-6. Is there discussion? Rocky?
Council President Kleberg?
Aye.
Counselor Schroeder?
Aye.
Counselor Forsman?
Aye.
Counselor Klein?
Aye.
Counselor Spiegelmeier?
Aye.
Counselor Lidke?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, councilors. Next, we have item D, resolution 2024-5, considering authorizing the destruction of certain fire department records. This is an action item, and we have with us here our fire chief, Greg Reitmeyer, if you need to visit with him. Otherwise, I would entertain a motion. Counselor Schroeder?
I move to approve resolution 2024-5.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Schroeder, seconded by Counselor Forsman to approve resolution 2024-5. Clerk Rocky?
Council President Kleberg?
Aye.
Counselor Schroeder?
Aye.
Counselor Forsman?
Aye.
Counselor Klein?
Aye.
Counselor Spiegelmeier?
Aye.
Counselor Lidke?
Aye.
Thank you, counselors and Clerk Brocky. Next, we move into ordinances. Number 1, second and third readings. Item A, ordinance 4912, considering repealing and reserving Section 7-6 of the Lewiston City Code related to Lewiston Emergency Medical Services Advisory Board, MSAB, amending Section 2-42C regarding the membership of the MSAB, amending Section 2-49C regarding the powers and duties of the MSAB, and providing an effective date. This is an action item, and again, we have our Fire Chief, Greg Reitmeyer, with us here tonight if you need questions. Have
Mayor.
questions otherwise, Councilor Forsman?
Motion to approve the second and third reading and waive the third reading in full of ordinance number 4912.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Forsman, second by Councilor Speckelmeyer to combine the second and third readings and waive the third reading in full of ordinance number 4912. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Councilor Forsman?
Motion to approve the second and third reading of ordinance number 4912.
Second.
By Councilor Forsman, second by Councilor Schroeder, to approve the second and third readings of ordinance number 4912. Is there discussion or amendments? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Against? Motion passes. Clerk Brocky?
Approving the second and third readings of ordinance number 4912, an ordinance of the City of Lewiston repealing and reserving Section 7-6 of the Lewiston City Code related to the Lewiston Emergency Medical Services Advisory Board, amending Section 2-42C regarding the membership of the Emergency Medical Services Advisory Board, amending Section 2-49C regarding the powers and duties of the Emergency Medical Services Advisory Board, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Clerk Brocky. Councilors, we move to item E2, adoption and approval of ordinance summaries. Item A, ordinance 4912. This is an action item.
Mayor.
Councilor Forsman?
Motion to adopt ordinance number 4912 and approve the related ordinance summary.
Second.
Been moved by Councilor Forsman, second by Councilor Schroeder to adopt ordinance number 4912 and approve the related ordinance summary. Clerk Brocky?
Council President Kleber,
Aye.
Councilor Schroeder,
Aye.
Councilor Forsman,
Aye.
Councilor Klein,
Aye.
Councilor Spickelmeyer,
Aye.
Councilor Lidkey.
Aye.
Passes. Thank you, Councilors. We'll skip over Roman numeral 8, move to Roman numeral 9, unfinished and new business. Item A, City Councilor comments. Comments shall not be related to an item currently before the City Council or an item that may come before the City Council in the foreseeable future, and shall be limited to comments, not discussion.
Mayor.
Councilor Forsman?
At my job, my other job, we lost someone that we really cared for, was my manager, as well as a lot of those that work with me have lost loved ones this past month. And so I just want to, I'm remembering how little time we have with those that we love, and just remember to hold your loved ones tight, because you never know when you're not going to have another day with them. And so it's been a really rough last couple of months.
Thank you for sharing, Councilor.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Lidkey?
yeah, I'd just like to apologize for not being there in person for the last couple of meetings. I've had some health issues, and I'm currently home with a fever due to those health issues weighing down on my immunity, but I plan to be back, and I am paying attention and reading everything coming my way, and just want to say thank you to Director Johnson for a 300-page read twice this week.
Not here.
I'll pass that along to him, Councilor. Thank you. Other council comments? No. Item B, City Boards and Commission Liaison Updates. I'm just going to go down the list quickly. If you have a comment, please provide it. Cemetery, Urban Forestry, Councilor Klein, anything happening there we need to know about?
They're considering moving the Arbor Day celebration to that Saturday to align with a celebration that's already happening there.
Look forward to that. Councilor Lidkey, Development Impact Advisory Committee or Disability Advisory Committee?
The development impact has not met yet due to withdrawal from candidates, but I hope to rectify that soon. And Disabilities Advisory Commission continues to discuss the need for more accessible streets. And right now they don't currently have a specific project, but lots of good conversation happening.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Forsman, EMS or Historic Preservation, anything to update us on?
EMS, there's nothing new quite at the moment. They just went through that contract, so we got that done here tonight. But the Historic Preservation, they have the Orchid Award, May 11th at 11 a.m. at the Tutorial Building. Did I say that right? I feel like I didn't say that right. So please go if you can. They're really excited about it and looking for a candidate to present this award to.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Kleberg, Library Board.
Library Board, we have a meeting next week.
Thank you. Councilor Speckelmeyer, Parks and Rec, anything new for us?
Meeting next week.
And then also, I think soon, Councilor, we're going to have discussion from you on Bert Lipp's pool coming up, right? April or something.
Repeat that?
Bert Lipp's pool?
Oh.
I think you have
correct.
that one coming up in April, so anything we can do to help, but we'll be looking forward to hear from you on that. Public Works Advisory, Councilor Schroeder.
Have our meeting on the 20th. It's been moved through our, we changed our bylaws, so we will have that meeting on the same. But anyway, we'll work that out. But it's the 20th that we have our next meeting. But we did on the MPO have the study that, wasn't it the MPO you were there with? That where they had the study, I can't remember the consultants, but they had all kinds of crash studies and where this problem intersection, and so it was very, very interesting. And I typically was going to, I mean, I had it out to bring it, but I did not. But it was a lot of information, and I really appreciated that. It really made things clear as to why, you know, where the need is for making changes.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Klein, anything going on at the airport we need to know about?
One of their big concerns was that they were getting a stormwater bill that was $16,000 a month. They are being required to obtain an MSG permit, get that price reduced.
Councilor Lidkey, Association Idaho Cities, E911 Joint Powers, or Valley Vision.
I don't have any IAC updates, except they are continuing to watch the state legislature and paying attention to bills that may or may not affect us. I know there is a appropriation bill that speaks to any leftover funding in ITE, which could open up significant funds for pedestrian safety projects and street overlays. So we'll need to keep an eye out on those opportunities. 911 board, I did have to miss due to medical issue, but I will tell you that we're moving forward with looking for replacement for our emergency 911 coordinator, Dave Taylor, who's retiring, and continued discussions about how we push forward to make sure that we're bringing advances to our area. So I enjoy the work that's being done there. And I did attend my first Valley Vision board meeting. It was very interesting to see the change in conversation, very business driven in regards to the BEAR report that Executive Director Chavez had presented to us, and I think that we have some opportunities through Valley Vision's work to see new industry come to our valley. Of course, that takes some time, and we all need to be actively involved to make sure we can make that happen.
Thank you, Counselor. And for those of you that are wondering, BEAR, B-E-A-R, is Business Expansion and Recruitment Report. So thank you for that. Counselor, Counselor Kleberg, URA, you got a meeting tomorrow, I think.
We have a meeting tomorrow. It should be great fun. Public hearing over the audit report. So everybody should come down and watch.
Thanks. Okay, and then CETA, annual meeting is coming up in April. For those of you that may have an interest in it, I will be attending as the liaison for the council. Good things there. Item D, Advisory Board Commission appointments. Item 1, Planning and Zoning Commission, considering appointment of Shanita Cable to a 4-year term. I move to approve the appointment of Shanita Cable to a 4-year term in the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Second.
By the mayor, seconded by Councilor Schroeder, to approve the appointment of Shanita Cable to a 4-year Planning and Zoning Commission. Is there discussion? In favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Item E, agenda topics, councilors. Okay, if not, Roman numeral 10, adjournment.
So moved.
By Councilor Kleberg, second by Councilor Schroeder, to adjourn. Those in favor?
Flavor.
Get
Aye.
tired. Those opposed? Yeah, we are adjourned. Thank you.